So hello and welcome to NoseKnows. So today's video I'm going to be looking at the Dyson DC75 and I'm also going to be looking at how you change the filter, the Hepa filter, which is in the ball section here. Also looking at how you strip and service the head, and also just a general overlook on this particular vacuum and the ball type vacuum that Dyson manufactures. These ball types, they're all very similar build and construction, so if it's not a DC75 it will be very similar to what I'm going to show you in this video. I'm going to start off by taking the Cyclone off, but later on in the video I'm going to be showing you how to fit this Hepa filter, which you have to remove 5 or 6 screws to replace, so it's not one of the ones where you clip in and clip out. They say it's not non-serviceable because they recommend you replace it every 12 months, so it is a serviceable item, and you'll see how dirty it is when I get a bit further in. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into the video. I'm just going to start off by unhooking the power lead from the hooks on the back of the wand, like so, and I'm going to unclick the Cyclone section, the bin section, and then just show you what to look out for on there if you have any problems with your vacuum. So it's worth checking this first, because it has this small little pressure release valve which is on the back of the actual unit itself. Obviously this can be washed out in a sink or something like that, and make sure you dry it if you're doing that. But you'll see, if I just get the camera to focus on it, just on the back of the actual bin unit here, you can see this small little spring controlled pressure relief valve, and if something gets stuck in the vacuum, that is what happens. That will pressure relief and not burn the motor out, so it's not constantly sucking against the motor. So it's worth checking that moves. So you can also take the bin off. I will show you the screws that you need to undo if you want to access that small little pressure relief valve. But to be honest, there's nothing else in here apart from a load of dust, so a bang over a bin will clean it very well. So these are the screws. Again, if I can just get the camera to focus, it's not behaving itself, on the bottom of these ones here. And you can unscrew these and then click this whole cowling off, but all you're doing is stripping down the plastic Cyclone. There's nothing really to see that's moving apart from this small pressure relief valve. So it's only if you've got problems with that and if it's not moving freely like so that I would strip it any further. If not, I would just give it a good blow off with an air duster and give it just get rid of all the general muck on it. Obviously if you're washing it, make sure you dry it out. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to take the motor driven head off, but just before I do that, I'm just going to obviously get rid of the tools that are on the side of the wand here, just so they're not dropping and falling about everywhere as I start to move the vacuum around. So just give the table a bit of a wipe, and then we'll have a look. We'll spin the vacuum over and we'll have a look at the head. So it just needs to be in its sort of open position like so, and you can see the head here, the vacuuming head, which is this bit section here. And then we need to remove the little red clip, which is this one here. So you can get sometimes just pop off easy with your fingers. So if you can just get your hand around it, you see the clip there. It's got 2 little sort of indents that you can just pull or sort of push, whichever way around they are. So you just pop it off like that. So, and if it's tight, if it's been on a while, never been off, you might need to get a screwdriver on it. But it just pops off. There's 2 grooves either side. It's like a little C clip, and that clips on around the head. So that's the clip itself off. And then you can take it off. Before I just give it a wiggle off, I'll just show you there's electrical termination here, which is this. If I can just get the camera just to see it properly, and I'll just point to it with my screwdriver. It's this clip here. So make sure that these are clear, and make sure you don't twist too hard against that. So it does just wiggle off. So just wiggle it like so, and you'll see. Now this one's got stuff bunged up in it, so that won't be helping, as you can see. So I'll just put it to one side. So it might be worth me just investigating the pipes and just make sure there's nothing stuck inside there. You see the 2 electrical joints there, these 2. Obviously they mate up with the head to power the motor in the head. I'm just going to check in there, and in fact if I can just see with the camera, it might not be able to see too good. It looks clear by my eye, but I know the camera's not picking up on that, so I'll just get a torch and just put, that is a bit bright for the camera, but you can see, I can just tilt it a little bit more, you can see it's relatively clear. Well, it's clear inside the bottom tube. Now this tube here does attach to a flex, 2 flexes on the back. It attaches to one that sits on the underside of the ball, and then also one that's on the wand section here. So again, if we flip it back over, and what I'll do, I'll just remove the front clip, this one, from this front connecting hard fixed pipe. But I'll take the main hose, flexible hose off first. But just while we've got it in this view, if I just show you this clip, you just push it in with your screwdriver and it pops the front facing clip off the hard transition pipe, as it will be the one that fixes to the vacuum head. So you can see there, once that clips off, it comes loose. You can't get this pipe off until the wheels are pushed in the sort of upright position, so in the 90-degree position to where they are at the moment. So I'm just going to push this flexible hose back in. You can get it easier with this with the filter cover off, but you can do it with it on as well. Okay, so like I said, I think we'll get the main flexible off first. So I'm just going to pull the hard fixed wand out of the flex, like so, and then we're going to flip the vacuum, the DC75, back over. I'm going to show you the clip that you push to remove this flexible pipe. So obviously make sure it's clear, and we can have a proper look once we get it out of the actual vacuum itself. There's a small viewing window on the front which just pulls up on a little hinge. It's worth checking in there for any debris. Also check the seal, make sure the sealing face on the front there is nice and clean. And then this little clip here, you push it down sort of through the window, and then in theory it will pop off. So you just push on that clip like so, and it clips off. So make sure it's clear, but sometimes they do get stuck in here because it's quite a good fit. So you only on some of them you have to get the screwdriver down the side. So if you're pulling on this, obviously don't pull it too hard, you'll split the pipe. So give it a bit of a wiggle. If it doesn't want to come, again, make sure you've checked push that clip so it's in the released position on the front, and then you just spin the vacuum around, if I can get it in the right position for the camera. And then you can just put a flat-headed screwdriver, you can just put that down the side of the actual vacuum. So you're not against the flexible here, you're just on the actual mating clip face. So in there's a red and black sort of plastic joint, which you'll see on the end of the actual flex when it comes out, like so. And that's it, that's the main flex remove. So if you've got a faulty flex, that's how you remove that. I'm just going to put that to one side, and then we'll get the vacuum down again, and we can have a look at this small flexible pipe here to remove this one. So like I said, the actual wheels have to be in the other position, so you can push these, make sure that that's out of the way, you don't damage it, and then that pops off the plastic mating face on this side. Now if Dyson have been to your Hoover because it's been hard to push or just come to service it, sometimes they take the seal out that is on this small flexible pipe. So you might pull yours out and yours might look like it's got a seal attached to the end. Like I say, if the Dyson engineer's bin, they take that seal out and it just lets a bit more air come into the vacuum. Still works well, but it just makes the DC75 easy to push. So that's how to remove the small joining pipe, and then how to replace like so. Okay, so we're now going to change the filter. So again, spinning on its side, I'm using I think a number 1 and number 2 Phillips screwdriver. There's a one longer screw down the center here. If yours is some of these Hoover vacuums have the filter where you just unclick it from here. This particular one, you have to unscrew the screw out of the middle of the bearing like so, and then pop the cowling off. And then here there's like a plastic cap that goes on top of the bearing. Just give it a wiggle, it will come loose. And then you can see there's a bearing there, and if you push that with your finger, it will pop the little cover plate out, which retains the actual cowling around the filter. Put that to one side. And now we've got the cowling off. Before we just tackle the filter, we'll just pop this small pipe back into position. So again, just extend the end out slightly and sort of put the bottom face in first, so the clip's sort of going in last. And then once you put a bit of pressure on with your hand, and you will hear an audible click as it clicks into position. Give it a little tug test, and then you should be able to feel that it's in firmly, and then you can move it up and down just to check it. Okay, so these are filters, and there is 5 screws that we need to remove, and these are the ones shown here with the red arrows. So these are the 5 screws we take out. They're old Phillips heads, so relatively easy. So don't be tempted to use an electric screwdriver here. It is always better. There's only 5 screws in there. It's always better to use a hand screwdriver, because you can just feel if they're starting to strip, especially when you're putting them back in. You don't necessarily have to look after the screws here, because you do get 5 new screws. They're all the same length, so you do get 5 new screws with your Dyson filter. So you take the screws out. The one that sits for the center cowling is slightly longer, so you can't really get them mixed up either. So there's another 3 on the top here after you've got them other 2 out. And again, these are Phillips heads, so easy to come out with the same screwdriver. I'll just speed this section up, taking the other 3 out, like so. Once you've got them all out, like I say, you don't have to worry about the screws, because you get a new set, and the filter lifts off. So it looks clean from this side, but when you spin it over, you can see obviously all this grey here.
I think this vacuum about 4 years old now from the making of this video, so this has probably been about 4 years. So worth to replace these. So one side, or it goes in the bin in a minute, but yeah, put that to one side, get your new filter. This is the model for this one. Yours might be a slightly different part number, so obviously don't follow this part number if you've got a different different Dyson. This is a DC75. Take the filter out of the box. You get, there's the screws that you get. They obviously match the new filter that's going on, but they're the same screws as the other one, so if you lose one, you've got another 5 to go for. Check this mating face here. There's a rubber seal on this front face here, so it's worth giving that a wipe over. Make sure there's no dust or debris that's going to jam between the plastic face on your new filter and this seal here. That's the only thing that is separating and making this a Hepa vacuum, is when it pulls it through that filter before it puts it into the Cyclone. So worth checking this, making sure that it's right, because that mating face then sits on like so against there. Your 5 screws are noticed. If you notice, are positioned around that mating face, so it pulls the actual filter onto that rubber seal. So that's why it's worth making sure it's all clean. Make sure it's sitting comfortably and you haven't got it in the wrong position before you put it in. I mean, in theory, the 5 holes line up on the screws, so you can't really get it wrong. So put your filter on and then let's get the screws in. And like I've just shown you, and I said, we've got 5 new screws, 5 brand new screws to go in, like so. So I will speed this bit up, these screws going in. So I'm just going to offer them up. Put the 2 that are on the nearest face in first and just tighten them gently. They're not fully nipped up yet. Again, just going to work my way around. Put the other 3 on the top there. Make sure that they're all in. So just trying to keep out of the way of the camera there. And then one final check on all of them. So I'm just giving them all a little nip. Just make sure that they're all firmly in but not stripping. That's why I said don't use an electric screwdriver, because if you use an electric screwdriver you can strip these straight out, and then as soon as you do that, then you've destroyed the plastic that this fits on. Give it a little tug test, make sure it's on firmly, make sure it's okay, and then we can put the cowling back on. So like I showed you earlier, again, this cowling, you can just pop the little plastic retaining washer that sits on the top there out. It's just easier just to locate. Drop the cowling back on like so, and then pop the little retaining washer on. And the only screw, you notice the screws on the table there, the only one that goes in is the longer one. So it's the longer single screw that you've already removed. Put that back in, or if you've kept it to one side, then great, that's the same one. Obviously we've not got any new screws for this, because this is the old one that we're just popping back in to keep the ball filter cover back on. Make sure it spins freely like so, and then that is us reassembled, filter it in, ready to go, and cowling back on. So next up is we're going to tackle the vacuum head here, but before we do that I just need to click the main flexible hose back onto the back of the DC75. So to do that, we just offer the hose back up, make sure the clip is facing that front viewing window at the front there, and then it just literally just pushes in. So make sure your hand's about 4 or 5 inches up the hose on the DC75. Give it a hard push, click, make sure that red tab's facing forwards and you hear it clicking. There'll be an audible click as you push it in. Give it a little tug, just give it a tug test, make sure it's okay, and then that is the hose, the main hose or flexible hose reattached to your Dyson DC75. So let's get on to the final bit, which is the motor head for the Dyson DC75. There's 2 red retaining clips on the main body here, so we need to need to flip it open on the hinge so we can get to whatever muck's inside this head. So click these both open and it pulls open on a hinge, and you can see this one's got something jammed in it. So I'm just going to work along this channel once I've got the main bit out. I'm going to work along this channel with a flat-headed screwdriver. If you have an air duster, that's great as well. Obviously get the main bulk of the muck or debris out of this channel with a flat-headed screwdriver. You'll see as I pull this, it should pull it out with a bit of luck. It feels like a bit of plastic that's gone in there, a bit of a plastic wrapper or something, and that's initially started the jam, and then everything else has started getting stuck in there. So yeah, just using a flathead screwdriver, give it a bang out as well onto the workbench, and then get rid of that to one side. And I'm just going to work along here now and clean it. I will speed this section up again because I'm just going to clear this channel. You can take the roller out, the brush roller out as well using them screws, but I don't need to on here. There's nothing wrong with the roller. I just need to clean this channel, make sure that all that's clear, and also clear the hair that's actually sat on the brush roller as well. So I'll speed this section up. And just while I'm clearing off the hairs off the brush roller, there is normally a seal in this head for this DC75, but this one has been taken out, so it suggests that it's been removed to make it easier to push, which I will show you in a bit. But anyway, once you've got the hair off and you've cleared the channel, which you can see it's all clear looking through there, again it'd be nice just to give it an air duster, just to give it a blowout. But check it, give it a good eyeball, make sure it's clear, make sure that front channel's clear, that you've just been running your flat-headed screwdriver along, and it's just simply in reverse. So you're pushing these back in and then click the handles back over. The one on the left, I've just not pushed it in all the way before I clicked it over, so just release it, push it back in, and then give it a turn, and it'll lock in. As simple as that. So they're really easy and really accessible to clean and check your head. Make sure everything else is moving freely, and then we are good to remount this back onto the vacuum. So just before we get this vacuum head clicked back onto the DC75, I'll just get a brand new head out, and I'll just show you where the seal normally is on the new heads, or if you're taking yours out for a service, where it should be. It's only if you've had a visit from Dyson that they tend to take these out. So this is the new head and the one on the top. Obviously comes with a retaining clip like you would expect, but this seal here that sits on this face is the one that the Dyson engineers take out, again to let more air in so it's easier to push. That's the one on the left hand is not this seal, that's the one that's sat in there, that one's missing on the bottom. This one on my left hand here is the one that sits on the flexible pipe, the small flexible pipe that we serviced earlier. And it's the one that sits on the underside and mates against the fixed plastic on the underside of the vacuum. So that's nothing to do with the head that we've got in our hand now. It is purely this seal, which you can see moving there, which it should have in, and this one doesn't. Like I said, it does affect performance slightly because it draws air in where the seal should be, but it makes the vacuum easier to push. So if you're trying to make your vacuum easier to push, then take that seal out by all means and give it a go. You can always pop it back in, but they tend to be stuck on, so when you take them off you tend to damage the seal. So finally we can get the head clicked back onto the main body of the vacuum, line up the terminals along the top and make sure that they go in. Don't force it if you haven't got it in right. Flip the vacuum back over, and then we can put the retaining clip back on. And you'll notice on the clip it can only go in one direction, so don't go forcing it. It will only go in where the grooves are lined up, and it has a small ridge on the back. So click it in, there'll be a loud audible click. Make sure it articulates around the main body, make sure the head spins around freely. If it doesn't, just take the clip back off and reseat it, and then you're okay then to click the Cyclone back in, and that is the Dyson DC75 all serviced and ready to go. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, really hope it was helpful. If it was, please hit me up with any comments below. You know what to do if you like the video, hit the thumbs up, and also please do subscribe to my channel. That's the only way my little channel will survive, by subscriptions. And thanks again for watching NoseKnows on YouTube.